Hi, I'm Steve. I just got off of the Skype session with Steve MacKinnon, and it was awesome. Had a great time talking with Steve. So I got to say thank you, Steve, for being so generous with your time and taking the time out from your schedule. It's a really busy time for him right now. He's got a camp coming up, but he was willing to sit down and talk with us about his businesses, his homestay business, his camps, how he set it all up, and how it fit into the bigger picture of his family's life in Korea and in Canada. So Steve spent about 8 years in Korea before moving back to Canada with his family, and things are really working well for them. So um, there's a lot of awesome information in here. So pay attention, take notes, and make sure to visit his website. I'll at the very end of the program, I'll show a little bit of his website and talk about it. And I guess this is as good a time as any to announce that I've been working on a website of my own called Repatriate.Me. So Repatriate.Me is going to be, or is a full of resources for repats. And it's just one page right now. It's just the resource page. But I'm trying to kind of compile everything that I've been researching over the past year or so for repats and putting it in one place. So check that out. And also the Repat Network Facebook group, of course, if you're not already on it, if you found this video through some other way, that's a great resource as well. It's kind of a mastermind group of expats that are trying to go back home, usually involving some kind of career change or starting a business of some sort, and so on. So with all that, thanks again to Steve, and thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Bye. Well, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, sure.
I know I've been dying to talk to you, and I know there's been other people as well that are really curious about what you're doing. It's a really cool setup you have going.
Yeah. I get a lot of. I've always gotten. Actually, going back to when we were running schools. Most of the emails that I got were, "Hey, how do I do it?"
Right.
And now that we've kind of gone and gone to the next level off of that, same thing, right? Oh, hey, how do I do it? So, I'll see what I can. I'll see what I can say. That might make things easier for people.
Well, maybe this will save you some time too. You can just send them the link to the to the video.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
This is what was it called? Quinto Ruban. It's a Glenmorangie special edition. I got it at duty free.
Okay, nice.
Sometimes they have special editions that you get at duty free. So
I just finished off my my coffee.
What time is it there?
It's 1:15 in the afternoon.
Oh, okay, all right.
And I'm down in Gwangju, so.
Oh, you're down. This is let's see, what are we? 9:16 p.m. You can see it's still a little light in the sky because we're up north.
Right, nice.
Yeah.
Well, how long were you in Korea before you guys went back?
Almost 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, yeah, about 7.5 years. I got in April of 2008, and I left in June of last year, of 2015. Okay. Yeah.
Did you know from the beginning that you'd be going back or staying that long, or what were your plans when you first came to Korea?
Well, the first thing, we came into Korea totally by accident.
Okay.
I met my wife in Canada.
Okay.
Got married here, and about 2-3 weeks after we got married, we found out she was pregnant. Mm-hmm. And of course, we hadn't applied for permanent residency like that, and she wouldn't have been covered under medical. Now, I don't know if anybody watching this has been through that experience, but private insurers won't usually cover pregnancy until the best I found was $10,000, which is nothing really in a country like Canada, and especially if there's any complications. So she wanted to fly back to her country so that she could have the baby.
Right.
And she had a miscarriage before we left, which was unfortunate. And then she really wanted to be with her family.
Right.
So we had already, made the plans, bought the tickets, and sold everything. So we decided we would just go for it, and showed up in Korea with, I think I had $1,500 in cash, and no job, and and no place to live, right? And she similarly, had been working with me in Canada and had no job, and so we just we were hungry when we started.
Right.
So we had there was about a month's time where we just met her friends and we did a wedding in Korea, and then we just went right into it, and it was just nonstop after that.
Right. So hustling, saving money.
Hustling, saving money. Look, man, I've been working 6-7 days a week since, I don't even know. I don't even remember. Right. I got my first job when I was 8.
Right.
I've been full-time since I was probably 18.
Wow, great.
I worked 35 hours a week through university. Right. So yeah, I mean, it's just, it's become just a part of the routine, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So you go into a place like Korea where you can stack your jobs, where you can work more than 40 hours a week. So yeah, that's what we did.
Okay. And so at what point did you start setting things in motion to repatriate back to Canada?
Oh, the repatriation. Yeah. 2 years. When my wife got pregnant. Yeah. When my wife got pregnant, we found out in February of 2013, and I almost immediately went to work liquidating the brick and mortar stuff. We had 3 schools, which we had to liquidate. Then we had to shift some businesses around. So our UHUC business, our student agency business, we had to move we used to have that licensed underneath the school, and we had to move that to a different office. So we had to get our office in Yoido. We had to do translation. We set up the boat business. So yeah, there was a lot of things to do.
So the UHUC business you had running before, while you were living in Korea, and you transitioned to...
we used it predominantly for the camps.
Okay.
Right? Like if somebody wanted to send their kids overseas, we could recommend them. Right. Here's how you apply, and here's how you do this, and here's how you do that. But we didn't actually provide... I mean, we recommended long-term homestay solutions because we work with a network of homestays here, but we didn't run our own. We just managed them remotely. Right. And now we can manage them directly. Okay. This is, and we'll get into it later, but when you're dealing with kids, and I know that there's questions coming up about how to deal with the kids in camps and UX and this kind of stuff, it's all extraordinarily sensitive, 100% more so than it is with an after-school program.
Right. I think that's to be expected. I mean, people are sending their children, right? They're the most important thing in the world. They're sending overseas.
Oh yeah. This is at a different level than after school care, So we're always really disappointed, I think, by the way that kids get treated, and not just in Korea, but especially in Korea, and with international students in particular, the way that they're just kind of dumped off on a stranger's doorstep, and It just there's some success stories, but I think we've all read studies like the dropout rate of Korean international students, this kind of thing, and it's more than just the study habits that they learn in their home country. Beyond that, it's the level of care that they receive abroad. Especially after a system where somebody's taking care of them as much as the moms and most in Korea.
Yeah, I had a student actually that had done a homestay in the U.S. And they stole money from him. They actually took money from his bank account, and it was pretty bad.
Yeah. I have 4 homestays that I work with on a regular basis, 2 more that I work with part-time, and I interviewed over 50.
Okay, wow.
to get them, and they're still not what I would consider perfect. I got one homestay that I would say is like at a top tier level, but most of them are absolute garbage, you know. And those 50 that I visited were pre-screened out of possibly 200, you know. So yeah, it's difficult. So anybody who really, you know, who's thinking about doing homestays, and I would caution this, and we'll get into it, I'm sure, in more detail, but the number one thing is you really have to care deeply about the welfare of the kids, right? It can't be just something where you're renting out space. Otherwise, you're just going to be another crappy homestay. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, how much support does the homestay family end up giving? I mean, of course, I assume there's meals and, you know, room and board and all that stuff, but in terms of, like, you know, help with homework and tutoring and that kind
My
of thing.
homestay or regular homestays?
Well, both. Feel free to compare.
Honestly, I've never found a homestay anywhere. And I've touched base with a lot of them, hundreds of them, and I've never found one that does what we do anywhere. This is a very special niche area of homestay. We call it managed care of minors. It goes beyond guardianship. It's basically all those things that a parent sending their kid abroad thinks the homestay family is going to do, but never does. Right? And we charge a premium for it. You know, to be honest, I also don't know any other homestays that are as expensive as we are. So you know, we're at the top of the price chart, but we're on the top of the service chart. What we do is we don't give an option, though. You know what I mean? Like, we don't let the students pick and choose which of the services they're going to be using. We're saying this is the level of service. It's all inclusive. And you know, you're the kind of student, you know, the kind of parent who wants your kid to be in a place like that, or you don't.
Oh yeah, I that sounds like smart from my end. Although I've never gotten into that business, but
well, I'll tell you, the overhead in terms of time and money is also substantial. Yeah. I mean, we can get into specifics. You know, I guess people are also going to be curious about the money, and I don't mind talking about it you know, to a limited extent. I mean, I'm happy to provide some ballparks.
Okay, sure, that'd be great. So, like, is it they pay on a monthly basis, or?
They do, yeah. I mean, some people want to pay in advance. I advise them not to, for a number of different reasons. I don't like holding their money in escrow, and then if there's ever any problem, we want to make sure that all of their documentation is all above board and legal, and residential tenancy agreements, at least where we are in Canada, provide for month to month or a fixed term basis, and the fixed term basis has weird rules in terms of refunds. So there's more protection for them and more protection for us if we, you know. But again, anybody who's interested in doing it, I would check with their local laws.
And what are the ballpark ranges for homestays in general? You don't necessarily have to be specific about yours, but maybe in terms of how much they cost for the student and.
Okay. Vancouver is a very expensive city with a low vacancy rate. The cheapest homestay room that you're probably going to find, and this would be a simple room with a bed and maybe a desk and a shared bathroom and 2 meals a day. You're thinking maybe $750 Canadian dollars. And these days, the trend is now going up towards $850, $900. A nice room, you know, in a nice area, in a nicer house might cost you $1,000. You know, $900 to $1,000 in a nice area, nice house. We charge between $1,500 and $2,000. I have heard of Korean homestays charging for minors, and I mean like 10 years old, charging as much as $3,000 a month. But this is all done through Korean agencies, which, as you might imagine, I have some strong feelings about. You know, anything that's run by an ajushi, I have some strong feelings about. I can't blame the kids, though. You know, this is something the adults have kind of constructed for themselves. You know, so one of the things that we're happy to do is to get the kids, number one, out of Korea, and number two, away from that system,
Right.
as much as possible, and give them a fighting chance at, developing different humanistic skills.
Right,
Let's just
okay,
put it that
right,
way.
right.
Yeah.
And I assume that's staying with Korean families.
No. Who, me or the
No, the one
Korean
the
homestays?
Korean agencies.
Yeah, no, the Korean agency. So what happens, with a lot of Korean moms and dads who have, a 10-year-old kid that they want to send abroad, and emotionally this is not the best for the kid, but at the same time, if the parents can't accompany, realistically, it is an excellent educationally developmental time to go and learn a second language and a second culture, because they'll be fully fluently bilingual if they come back, right? If they come in around, end of elementary school and they finish their high school years, they'll have both languages down absolutely fluently most of the time. So parents will send them over, but they don't want to send them to, I don't want to say an evil foreigner's house, but they don't want to send them to an unknown factor. So they'll send them to something familiar, and what's familiar is a yuhak that they contact in Korea. And the yuhaks that are contacted in Korea have people who work over here. There's like an affiliate office in, for example, Vancouver or Sydney or wherever. And those guys go and source homestays, usually Korean homestays. And then the Korean homestays will say, yes, sure, we'll take care of your little prince and princess, just like we would. And but they'll charge a tremendous amount of money, because there's a padded margin there for both the agency and the homestay. The Korean agencies that refer those kind of homestays, especially for younger kids, the younger the kid, the larger the margin is, or the larger the amount of money is that they're pocketing, sometimes as much as $10,000 for an upfront fee just for establishment, and then a further $1,000 a month that they're pocketing for guardianship. And this is this paper guardianship, and anybody who's interested can find out more on the website what the difference is between full guardianship and paper guardianship. That's www.CanWestCamps.ca. And so they're paper guardians. They don't usually do anything for the kids. They do the occasional phone home to mom. Oh yeah, little Sumin's doing great. She's so happy, and then that's it. That's not true 100% of the time, but I've never heard of it not being true in my experience, and I've been in this industry for 12 years.
Okay. And now, what's the difference between running the homestays and running the camps?
That's a big question. The camps are a temporary program. We've done 3-week programs. We've done 5-week programs. It's everything. We have to accompany the kids on the flight, provide for their transportation, their meals, their housing, their activities, their debrief after the activities, communication with the parents, videography, certificates, guardianship, escorting them through customs, all of that. It's a big job. So for 3 weeks, 6 days a week, we're pretty much busy all day, every day with these kids. There's not really any room for anything else. This year, we're going to have some help in the house because we have a 2-year-old. But last year we were dragging our daughter around with us, during the camp, and she seemed happy enough about it to do it. But it's a lot of work.
Now, what do you think is the most difficult thing about running the camps?
We've been doing it for a while, so I think I've got it down pretty well. I think for me, the stress of making sure that everybody's safe and happy is number one. This is a reputation-based business, obviously. So if we've got kids who are unhappy, they're going to be much more vocal than kids who are happy. A kid who comes and has a great time, they'll go back and mom and dad will say, did you have a great time? They say, yeah, I have a great time. And then that's the end of it. A kid who comes back with a complaint, that mom's going to make sure everybody hears that complaint. So there's that, but also the safety issue. These kids are learning how to sail boats and build tree forts, and we want to make sure that they're being responsible. these are kids. They're jet lagged. They're excited. They're sugar powered. Like
Right.
there's that kind of stuff. Things that have been stressful in the past have been things like cell phone uses, right? Kids who bring their phones over and then spend the entire time with their face in their hand phones, which is really frustrating because you don't want to show that to the parents in any of the film.
Right.
You don't fly 7,000 kilometers to stick your face in your phone.
Right.
And no matter how many times I tell the parents don't send them with a phone, they always do.
Yeah.
Don't fail. Because that's a babysitter. They're used to it. That's their babysitter.
Right.
Other difficult things are managing the homestays. So I touch base with the homestays every single day.
Right.
So for each one of the homestays, when I'm dropping the kids off, I spend 10 to 15 minutes talking with the homestays, just making sure, what did they have for dinner last night?
Right.
Did anybody have any problems? Did they get to bed on time? What did they say? Are they communicating? Are they speaking in English? Are your kids playing with them? How can we make things better? And I think, for the homestays, we have to choose the right homestay because it's stressful for them too, right? This is not the same as having a 25-year-old who, says hello and good night and that's it, right? So there's a lot of interactivity with the kids, and then following up with the homestays. So, the ones that we work with are ones that are really quite solid, and that's been difficult. And you don't want to push your homestays too far either, because you want it to be worth their while financially, but also you don't want to give them too much stress, so that they continue to work with you the next year. And remember, this is their summer vacation too, right? They've got kids. And that's their kids' summer vacation, and that's 3 weeks is a long time in the middle of summer, right? So,
and have you thought about? I saw on your website you mentioned specifically, we don't use dorms.
No.
Right? Have you thought about doing that for the camps?
No, never.
Okay.
Would never.
You think the homestays
I would never take a number of students where I couldn't provide them safe housing. And this is the dorms that are usually used are the University of British Columbia dorms, first-year dorms, first and second-year dorms. And when I was a student at the University of British Columbia, and I stayed in those dorms. So they might be staying in my room.
Right.
And it's you've got 40, 50 rooms on a floor, 40, and they double up, right? So let's say you've got 40 rooms on a floor, each doubled up. You got 80 kids on a room. The bathroom's got 3 shower stalls and 4 toilets, and 2 supervisors. And the supervisors that they hire are first and second year students. They post their jobs on the University of British Columbia websites. These are 18 and 19-year-old kids, right? These are barely older than the camp students themselves. They have no ECE training. I don't even know if they have any first aid training. And these are they're in a supervisory capacity. And you've got as many as 80 screaming students, roaming the halls, in a cinder block building. I wouldn't feel comfortable sending my kid to that environment. I know they're not going to be speaking English. I know that. And I really have no guarantee of their safety or proper security.
Sure. I see.
So no, I wouldn't ever do it, and I would very strongly recommend that nobody ever work with a camp that does.
Okay. And then how do you find the students? Like recruiting
well, when we were in Korea, we used to direct source. But now we rely on affiliates. So basically we reach out. I travel to Korea, often enough anyway. A couple times a year. My sole purpose is to go out, reach out to Yuhagwans and Hagwon owners. And that's always an interesting process, as well as guys like you and girls like you on the Repat network or Hagwon owners in Korea or F visa holders in Korea, whatever it is. And we offer commissions, which is how the other camps also recruit. Right, so they'll offer commissions. My goal is to try and make our prices attractive compared to the competition, and our commissions higher. So we usually benchmark against Tamwood. Tamwood's the biggest camp in the region. So we price our camp a couple $100 below their price, and we put our commission $100 over whatever they're doing. Right. So they're paying 700,000 won this year. We're paying 800,000 won this year. So for every student that somebody sends us, we give them cash. Whether or not they want to declare that, totally up to them.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to say one way or the other
Right.
money. But yeah, no, it's built in. So we sacrifice, you know, a large percentage of our profit to make sure that people are sending us kids. Because if they're happy doing it this year, they're going to do it next year and then the year after that. This is another difficult thing about the camp business, because you can tell somebody, I'm going to pay you $800 when the job is done, and people will say, hey, that sounds great, and then they'll realize, oh, I got to do work. I got to work for that. I got to chase people down. I got to convince people. I got to stay on top of them. It's not as simple as just saying, hey, do you want to go to a camp? And somebody's saying, well, I don't know. Right? So you know, there's something that, you know, the difference between somebody who's successful at recruiting students and sending them to us is the same difference as you know, somebody who works for a hug one versus owns one. Is that most people love the idea of being the boss, or they love the idea of commission check. Most people love that idea. A very, very small percent are actually going to follow through with the doing that. You know, just like somebody wants to go to the gym. They say, oh, you know, I want to ripped, and I want to look good in a bathing suit. And, you know, I want to diet, and I want to do this, and I want to quit smoking. But, you know, very few people actually follow through with this. That's frustrating. So my job is to, number one, get people interested, and then when they are interested, keep chasing them to chase other people, right? And that's a fine balancing act, because, as you know, my posts can you know, on Facebook groups, they can look a little bit spammy, right? When I'm putting one out once a week, twice a week, you know. But we have a very short recruiting season. I got to keep it fresh in people's minds, because if they miss the boat, they miss the boat. You know, it's not going to come around again until next year. So,
how many kids do you have at a time for the camps?
Maximum is 20. Yeah, we don't want more than 20. Last year we had 12, and 12 was a good number. We want to be able to know their names, converse with them. I want to know what they're doing all the time, who they're doing it with. You know, are they happy? Are they eating enough food? You know, are they speaking too much Korean? You know, does Unju have a problem with Eugene? And you know, Eugene and Rena, they like to play together, but when they're playing together, are they excluding, you know, Homian over there? So that kind of stuff is, it's like good classroom management, but on a larger scale. You want to make sure that people are happy. Again, because it's reputation based. Right? And we've got moms who went to the camp 3 years ago who still send us students. You know, the kids are older now, and they're not even in that age group. They still recommend year after year sending people over our way, because they were just so happy with the way that we managed it. But that doesn't come easy. You know, that's not passive work. It's very active work. Yeah, so it's tiring. Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to somebody looking at doing like a camp program?
Be realistic. You know, be realistic with yourself. Are you really prepared to do that amount of work? Do you present well enough to potential recruiters and potential parents that they would be willing to send somebody your way and pay? You know, our camp is $4.5 million. You know, it's a tremendous amount of money. You know, it's any vacation is, any overseas vacation is, but this is more expensive than sending a kid to, you know, Maui with Auntie so and so, right?
And plus plane tickets and
plus the plane ticket. Yeah, it usually ends up being somewhere in the neighborhood of 5.5 to 6. You know, for a kid to fly over and do 3 weeks in Canada. You know, that's all their housing and whatnot. I mean, if I fly to Maui, stay for 3 weeks, all my food, airfare, hotel, I mean, it's going to come to the same amount of money anyway, right? And this is slightly different. But people who have that kind of money, they want to, you know, send them someplace where they feel that they can trust, right? And establishing that trust is difficult. And anybody who's watching who's owned a school before knows that the first year is difficult, because it's all about the establishment of trust. Where you're the new guy on the block. I don't know who you are. Where did you come from? Can I trust you? Or are you just going to take everybody's money and disappear? You know, the Hagwon Owner's Midnight Runner. Right. So, that's all really important. And then it's a silly amount of work.
Right.
And catering to the needs of several different groups of people. You've got 4 groups of people that you need to constantly be maintaining and keeping happy. You need the kids to be happy, you need the parents to be happy, you need the homestays to be happy, and you need the referrers to also be happy. And everybody needs to trust you, and everybody needs to be in constant communication with you, and everybody needs to be told that they're valuable, and validated and self-esteem. And this is a constant thing, right? And this is on top of feeding them and keeping them safe, giving them interesting things to do, and transporting them around. So you have to really be realistic. If you're the kind of person who puts in an 8-hour day and then that's it, or if you're the kind of person who spends your time going after jobs that have a limited number of hours for a large amount of salary, and you're thinking, hey, that's great, I can work less hours and then spend more time playing video games. This is probably nowhere close to the kind of business that you want to be in, right? This is, you need to be very active, somebody who's used to pulling long, active, happy face hours.
Yeah, I can somewhat relate to that. I think when I was in graduate school, I worked for the university. We had a program with, it was like 6-week intensive English programs, basically, and we would bring college students over, and I was paid for 4 hours per week. That's what the university paid me, and but when we had a group in town, it was, I tracked it one time, like I calculated it. It was more like, it was over 80 hours. Actually, for like the first 2 weeks of the program, and then it would gradually step down.
Easy.
But I loved it, actually. It was a lot of fun.
It's incredibly rewarding, right? But it's that's true with a lot of things in life. If you give yourself a challenging thing to do, and you put your heart and your energy into it, and you do it well, and you can feel proud of yourself, you get that intrinsic reward. And it feels good to take these kids out of Seoul, which is a place that I don't like. And I couldn't keep my daughter there. Like I said at the beginning, when did we plan to move? As soon as my wife got pregnant. As soon as my wife got pregnant, I said, hell no. We're not staying here. And, she was pretty much in agreement as well. And that was it. And then we were, both feet running. It took a long, long time to liquidate. But it feels good when it's done. It's a tremendous amount of work, but if you're used to it and you're willing to do it and you've got the right networks and the right presentation skills, then it can work for you. What I told people, I don't know if you saw the video I put out earlier, but people who are watching this and are interested in doing it, one of the things that's always been a struggle is the online advertising and website SEO, right? Because we're on a limited scale and because we're a sole proprietorship, and we're not the Cheongdams, Cheongdam has its own UHawk system, and UHawk.com is huge, and Kinokon is huge. These are big companies that have offices in multiple countries, big advertising budgets. Don't really provide what I would consider to be top-notch service, big advertising budgets. So anybody who's interested in running a camp and believes that they have, I don't know what I want to say, the moxie, to do it. And the network, like they've planned it out. They know where the kids are going to stay. They know what the kids are going to do. If they can come to me with a plan, what I'm prepared to do is I'm going to say, look, I'll advertise your camp on my website, and we'll just make sure they're non-competitive, right? So if you're doing an Australia camp, it's going to be completely different from a Canadian camp, different time of year, whatever, right? Even if they want to do a USA camp, maybe we can make it so that the times don't overlap, right? Or that the focus of the camp is slightly different, whatever it is, right? We can do that, pool our resources in terms of marketing, boost the website SEO for camps, right? So the CanWest Camp would be the home site, and then underneath that we would have Vancouver Camp, Brisbane Camp, Dublin Camp, Michigan Camp, whatever, right? And that way we all get more traffic driven to our respective camps, and we can kind of put resources. And as long as we're in a non-competitive environment, and that's what really kills this industry, is that these camps, they don't work competitive or cooperatively at all.
Right.
Maybe if they did, the kids would have a better experience, right?
That's a great idea. Set up a kind of network, basically.
Basically, mutual marketing, right? I mean, it behooves me to do it because obviously I've already established a site. It would be great to drive traffic to it. But at the same time, any of those major, we're talking about camps right now, but let's talk about homestays just for a second.
Sure.
You look at major homestay websites like Homestay Bay, right, which is a big international website. It's a company that has homestays from all over the world, right? The reason it's big is because it has homestays from all over the world. So students from all over the world are searching for homestays in a variety of countries. It gives them options, right? And your most popular websites for that kind of thing are going to be the ones that give you options. And the same thing could be true for our website, right? You're welcome to go out and create your own website in your own camp, but then we're going to be running parallel, right? We're not going to be working together, and our SEO is still going to be low, and our marketing budget is still going to be the same. And if you're buying, How To is a HAUTO is a big website for Hagwons and moms who are interested in Hagwons. So basically, the education portal website in Korea, and to put one of their little square banner ads, and there's many on the page, right? It's 12, 15, whatever, right? To get one of those little banner ads for a month is 600,000 won, and that's one site, right? So you can imagine trying to blanket 12 sites with it, and you do get click-through traffic, right? And when they get to your website, what do they want to see? They want to see options. They want to see choices. They want to see something that's impressive. And if we had partners, we could all contribute content. We could all contribute locations. We could all contribute choices. So that kind of thing, if somebody is interested in doing it, but you have to have a solid plan. You have to have a camp that's feasible, right? Not, I'm going to put everybody in my grandma's basement, and there's a park just down the street, and we'll go see the kangaroos once. That kind of stuff. That's the way that Tamwood and these other big camps approach it is, we're going to put them in a dormitory. We've got classrooms available, so we're going to make them study. We're going to take them outside on the university campus grounds for a couple of hours in the afternoon, and then 2-3 days a week, we're going to put them in a bus, and we're going to drive them to a tourist hotspot. They're going to walk around downtown for a couple hours, or they're going to go to a museum for a couple hours, and then that's it, right? I mean, they're certainly not taking them for a hike through a rainforest, because it's very, very difficult to manage that number of students on that kind of activity. So limited scale really opens up a lot of options. When I was designing this camp, I wanted to give the kids the kind of experience that I had when I was a kid, because I grew up in Vancouver, and I remember all the fun stuff that was incredible and stuck in my memory from when I was 10, 12 years old. And then that's what we do with them.
Yeah, that's what comes to my mind. I think of cabins out in the woods, actually. I think it was something.
I've done that. I've actually taken the kids up, not to a cabin necessarily, but something similar to that. I've driven them up to Tofino, which is about 6 hours away from Vancouver. And unless the cabin is really close to where your main base of operations is, and this is just kind of like a specific nitty-gritty detail question, but they don't have the same appreciation for it as you do. And the what I want to say, the specifics of getting them up there, the logistics of getting kids up there, depending on the number, and housing them and feeding them and packing all that food and carrying all those clothes and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the deeper you look into it, the more difficult it seems, right? So yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. And there's lots of great ideas like that. But the person, when you come forward with a plan on the specifics of how you want to run that camp, those kind of small details need to be thought of. If you're going away for 2 nights, 3 days, everybody's packing a bag. Do you have room in the car for the bags? Right? Are you bringing up the food, or are you buying it there? Right? Where's everybody going to sleep? Is there enough blankets? Do you need to bring extra blankets? Yeah, that kind of stuff. Right?
And I assume you have like a big passenger van of some sort.
Yeah, actually, we're just buying that. That's what I've been doing the last couple of days. I'm buying a third car. I've got a 7-passenger. My wife's got a little convertible. She's got a 4-passenger. So she likes her car. It's a fun car to drive. And she's a little hardtop convertible. She doesn't want to give it up. So I've been shopping around for another 7-seater.
Okay.
So I'm looking for a minivan. So we'll probably have another car. Although, if you get a huge group of students, if you're looking at, say, 20 kids, your best course of option is usually to just hire a bus, hire one of those mini buses. The best rate that I saw was a 21 passenger, 3 weeks, 6 days a week, all day for 7,000 plus tax.
Okay.
So that was a good deal compared to what the other companies that I was speaking to at the time. Last year, what we did was we just bought another car and then resold it.
Okay.
So we made a deal with the dealership. Right? It was a used car. I said, hey, I'm going to buy this car. I'm going to bring it back 3 weeks later. Let's sign a contract. You agree to buy it back for $1,000 less than what I paid for it. It's still better than renting.
Right. Sure.
So that's what we did. And then I got dinged for the taxes, and I got dinged for the $1,000 loss, but I still came out ahead as to what I was doing. So.
Okay. And do you have a system in place for a situation where parents want to come too?
Yes. If they do, we can do that.
Okay.
I would very strongly recommend that they don't. Okay. You will get parents who want to. And your job, if you're running your camp, is to as much as you can convince them not to, right? And it makes sense. What are they sending the kids over there for? A cultural experience and language and immersion, right? Now, if they're with mom, there's none of that. Right? There's no language immersion. There's no cultural experience. It's basically a vacation with mom, where the kid goes out during the day and mom does what exactly? We're not really sure, right? I don't think mom's really sure.
Cacao talks and
so usually what I say to mom is I say, look, you're sending your kid over for an immersion experience, so let me do this for you. Why don't I put your kid in a regular homestay, regular camp experience, and at the same time you can do like a short-term rental on an apartment or an Airbnb or something like that. I'll source it out for you. I'll find it for you. I'll put your Airbnb near our house, but not near the homestay, where the kids are going to be staying. And then on Sunday, instead of the kid going with the homestay family, the kid can go with you, right? And then, but that's not enough for them because they're going to want to tail around along on all your activities. So instead, you've got to find a 3-week program for them to be registered in. And then you charge, I don't know, a $500 fee to set up the Airbnb or whatever the short-term rental is, and to set up the activities, to register them in the activities. So you're not making a huge amount of money, but it keeps them happy and it keeps them out of trouble. Because if they're tagging along with you, it's like turning the camera. You ever worked in a classroom where the camera's turned on the teacher?
I have not, no.
We had cameras in some of our schools, but they were never turned on the teacher. They were always turned on the students. Okay. Because I didn't want the parents focusing on the teachers. Because then it becomes a nitpicky, they're criticizing
the teacher
just for the sake of criticizing. Oh, his collar wasn't turned down correctly, or why was he drinking coffee that way, or so instead I want them focusing on the kids if they absolutely need to have a video record of the class, right? Same thing with the camps. You don't want the mom tagging along because whatever it is, they're not gonna appreciate what you're doing, right? They're there to find fault, and that's just I think that's just parents' second nature, and regardless of culture.
Okay, thanks again, Steve, for taking the time to talk with us. And sorry about that cutting out there at the end. We're not really sure what happened there at the end, but we're planning on continuing in a couple weeks. We're going to do a part 2, and then maybe even a part 3, because he has businesses that he runs not really related with this market at all. So he does a import-export business that a lot of people have questions about. And I also wanted to take some time and give some good coverage to his website. It's CanWestCamps.com. And you can see here he's got sections on, really answering any questions that you might want to know. So one of the things that came up was the issue of guardianship and what it means, the definitions. You can see that here. I was looking through this a bit before. There's some. It goes into incredible detail actually about all aspects of Steve's programs. And on the summer camp, you can even see the schedule and activities and things that they do. So if you're thinking about getting into this business yourself, this is an amazing resource here. Just look at Steve's website, look at what he's, the information he provides, the kind of activities he has going on. It's really quite awesome. It's an amazing thing he's doing. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. And we will, try and do another one, a follow-up podcast later. So make sure and contribute your questions, whatever extra questions you have for Steve. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.